Uh, I'm told that we're joined by Mr. Jason Unruhe, who is joining us right now to discuss that further. Mr. Unruhe, this was a very important announcement. Of course, we were expecting that to happen. The president of Iran announced the fourth step in reducing Iran's commitments to the JCPOA, and as he mentioned, as of tomorrow, gas will be infused into the centrifuges at the Fordo nuclear facility. What is your take on this development?
Well, it seems like this has been a long time coming. Frankly, Iran has followed the agreement. They've done everything that they are supposed to. They are obligated to by the rules of the agreement, which they signed on to. The United States has not been forthcoming with the actions that they are supposed to be taking on their part. Their unilateral withdrawal has completely kiboshed the entire it's kiboshed the entire agreement, which has left Iran in a state of a great frustration. Now, Iran had used a significant amount of strategic patience. They were going to wait and see if perhaps the U.S. was going to return to the agreement so everything could go back to the way it was before this round of unnecessary hostility had taken place. Unfortunately, the current administration within the United States had decided not to do so. It was their view that Iran had violated the agreement, presented no evidence, presented some phony material in bad faith, making the whole situation a lot worse. And Iran has remained completely and wholly within the agreement. They have done everything that they are supposed to do, everything that they are allowed to do in this situation, and has slowly begun the scaling back of their commitments in this situation. Essentially, what Iran has done is really hyper focusing on what it is that they're supposed to do within the confines of the agreement. They've remained inside of it without stepping outside those bounds, and it made sure that at no time that they have made a violation which the United States can use against them. In other words, they've completely followed the rule of law without giving any ammunition to the current U.S. Administration to use against them. But it seems that all of it has been for naught. No matter how Iran proceeds, no matter how much they do everything within the rules that they are not just can do, but are obligated to do, it makes absolutely no difference in the eyes of the U.S. administration. But I think this happens for a very specific reason. I think that uh, the Trump administration wants the deal gone, regardless of whether or not Iran has faithfully followed it or not. There's some division on why that is. Some believe that it is because it was Trump's predecessor, whom he has a lot of great hostility for, Obama, who created the deal, and therefore it needed to be destroyed. Others feel that perhaps the deal did not have the intended effect that they wanted it to. These restrictions on Iran were intended to undermine the economy, do enough damage, but yet still give that veneer that the U.S. was willing to play ball and was being fair by hammering out an agreement while still attempting to undermine the entire country to begin with. Obviously, that it did not happen. Before these sanctions were placed back on the country, Iran was doing very well, was excelling at numerous fields, had launched a satellite, etc. Things were developing quite smoothly. But that's not what the United States wants. That's not what imperialism is about. It's about undermining the country, and it's to a degree to cause enough stability, social unrest, etc., to foment regime change. If the current JCPOA agreement doesn't achieve that, then logically, from the standpoint of the imperialist aggressors, you would need to write a new one in order to forward that. And if you don't have a blatant and obvious violation that you can use as justification for abandoning the agreement, then you could certainly manufacture one, as we saw with the secret nuclear facility in the carpet cleaning business that we saw last year, that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu presented along with a long list of documents that were already known, and some of them which had nothing to do with any sort of nuclear development whatsoever, which the International Atomic Energy Agency dismissed along with the European partners as being things that they already knew about, out of date information, or not even relevant to the current situation on the ground, or not having anything to do with the nuclear weaponry at all. Essentially, no one took it seriously but the United States. This sort of artificial pageantry is something that Israel turned around and used again, which did not demonstrate anything to the international community, but certainly gave that justification for doing it, for reversing the agreement at home to the American public. And many of them, unfortunately, did believe the non-evidence that came out of the Israeli government. So we do have that. We have the U.S. Justifying it to their own people. But the whole overall theme of this, the desire here, is to cause a destabilization in Iran. And the current JCPOA agreement was very clearly not causing that.
Obviously. Thank you very much, Mr. Unruhe, for commenting on that. And of course, thanks to all of our viewers for following this very important piece of news. We'll be bringing you more on that, and we'll be discussing with more pundits and political analysts regarding this very important step, as we have told you.